this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the glorious Series 2 Pro Wireless. This is another lightweight and wireless gaming mouse from Glorious, but one that's particularly interesting because it features 8K wireless, that's 8 kilohertz polling rate over wireless, and it also has a number of other interesting highlights to it. It's pretty symmetrical in its shape, reasonably low profile, and has some pretty good things going for it. Obviously, you're going to see little PTFE feet. It uses optical switches. It uses the BAMF sensor as well. So it's designed to give you a comfortable gaming experience, accurate and responsive. I've been using this mouse for the last couple of weeks, and I want to talk to you about my experiences with it, what it's like to use, and some of the things that you need to know. One downside is that Glorious keeps insisting on using this design for its USB-C cables, which means you can only plug it in one way, which really annoys me, and I'm going to bring it up every time I review a Glorious product. I don't know why they do this. It makes it stupidly difficult to plug the cable in. USB-C shouldn't be this hard. Glorious says this design is actually to give it extra support when it's in wired mode, so it should protect the mouse and also make sure that it stays plugged in, but it's a bit of a weird one. Now, obviously, being a wireless mouse, you're meant to use that cable with the 8K dongle, which is included, which, as you can see, is pretty large. It's quite a chunky affair with a rubberized bottom on the other side. You plug the cable into that, and by the way, it has the same issue. You can't plug it in both ways. And then you put that on the desk near the mouse for a good signal. And that's what's interesting about this mouse, is the fact that it has 8K wireless. You don't see that very often. And if you combine that with the optical switches and the upgraded BAMF sensor, you've got a really good quality mouse that's fast and agile, great for pro competitive gaming. On the top, you'll see there's a DPI switching button, which when you press, it changes the color of the indicator underneath to let you know which level you're between. I'd prefer that on top personally, because it does mean you have to lift the mouse to be able to see it, but if you don't change your DPI too much, it doesn't matter. The mouse buttons are satisfying, with those optical switches giving a good satisfying click from them, and also the mouse wheel is tactile enough but doesn't give you a loud sound when rolled, which I find nice, and the side buttons are a little bit slick, but they do stick out far enough to make them easy enough to press. You can customize the buttons within Glorious software, which I'll show you a bit of later on. This is a lightweight mouse coming in at 55 grams, which obviously makes it very lightweight without any of the holes in the body that you'd have seen from previous ultra lightweight mice. It's got a symmetrical shape designed for right-handed gamers and a low profile design. It's built for claw and fingertip grips, and I personally find it sits a little bit too low on the desk. You can see how it sits in my hand here, but my immediate thoughts were, after using a recent Razer Death Adder V3 Hyperspeed, that this was a bit small by comparison. It's not a bad thing necessarily if you prefer a lower profile mouse or if you have wrist ache, for example, but you can see the Death Adder here and just the subtle differences in its shape. It sits a little bit taller off the desk, pushes up into the palm a bit more comfortably. But obviously, this is a personal preference. Now, if you're interested, I'm going to do a full comparison of these two, a separate versus video that I'll do in the near future. So subscribe to see that. But I did definitely find the Razer mouse to be a little bit superior in terms of ergonomic comfort. Now, this mouse obviously works with the Glorious Core software, where you can adjust various different settings, and it has multiple profiles on it as well. You can see that you can adjust the polling rate all the way up to 8,000 Hertz, and you can do that separately for wired and wireless mode. Now, this is worth knowing because what I found, and what you'll probably find as well, is that in the 8 kilohertz mode, battery life on the mouse is nowhere near as good. I found I was plugging it in quite often, probably once or twice a week, and not as good as other mice in that area, but obviously you're sacrificing high-end performance for less battery life. You can obviously change a number of other settings in there, including tweaking the button presses and whatnot, but what I have found is it has been good to game with. I definitely enjoyed shooting it up in Tarkov with this mouse, and I found it responsive. It's easy to flick around and easy enough to use to get your shots on target. This is PvE mode, so I'm not going to claim to be a pro, but I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's obviously responsive for what I need for gaming purposes as well. The buttons also are satisfying in their clicks, which you'll hear in a second when I do a sound test without me talking, but not loud enough that they're then appearing on the mic when you're talking, so you're not finding that there's loads of noise in there that's interfering with recordings and things like that if you're creating gameplay content. So overall, it's been a pretty good experience. The battery life is probably the main downside that I found. It just runs out a bit too quickly, and obviously I'd prefer a larger body, but overall a pretty decent mouse. So here's the sound test.
You've made it right to the end of the video, you brilliant legend you. If you've enjoyed it, click that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and drop me a comment down below if you've got any questions. If you really enjoyed it, consider joining the channel and see the benefits of doing so. Check out these other videos, you might well find them interesting or useful, and most importantly, have a great life.